Hello everyone and welcome back to the F2 show by Inside F2. It's been a while, wasn't it? It feels like it's been a while since the last podcast and since the last time Formula 2 cars were on track. Joining me for this one, we've got Aaron and Omi. Let's have a little catch up, guys, a little natter about Formula 2, what's been going on since the last time we spoke. And where should we start, Aaron? Should we start with probably the biggest news from the break, which is Gabriel Bortoleto going to be in Formula 1 next year. The current Formula 2 championship leader is going to be at Sauber next year as they turn to Audi for 2026.
Yeah, I mean, it could be the hot ticket. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts at Sauber, Audi, ahead of the rebranding for 2026. And I think even when Audi do arrive, it will take them some time to actually realise just how big a task it is to run a Formula 1 team. And I think they're finding some of that out at the moment. But for Gabriel Bortoleto, it's an opportunity you just don't say no to, even if it is with the team that's been at the back of the grid for much of this season. He's going to have a fantastic benchmark teammate to learn from in Nico Hülkenberg next season. You can't really ask for much more than what he's going to get from Hulk, because he's seen almost everything except the podium, of course. But maybe a bit too soon in the podcast for those sort of digs, isn't it? But yeah, great opportunity for Gabriel Bortoleto. Regardless of whether he wins the Formula 2 championship, he will be on the grid. It would be lovely to see him clinch the title in the next two rounds, and then we have the champion from Formula 2 graduate immediately to Formula 1, which we haven't seen for a little while.
Too long.
Yeah, too long. I think was the last one George Russell? That was, 2018?
Oscar Piastri. It wasn't Oscar Piastri. Mick Schumacher did it. Mick Schumacher,
yeah.
But it's been a long time. It is very overdue, isn't it?
It is overdue. And Bortoleto's had a fantastic season. I'm sure we'll speak about that. So, fully deserved. A Brazilian driver on the grid. Obviously, we've had Colapinto doing really well with Williams, and now Bortoleto on the grid as well. So South America getting representation with their Formula 1 drivers. So, it's great for motorsport in general, because that will feed more young drivers from South America coming through the junior series.
Absolutely. We're going to be talking about some of those names very shortly because, Gabriel Bortoleto, Franco Colapinto, and all of the other names that we're going to talk about are, obviously a massive part of the F1 driver market and what's gone on over the last month or so. But Omi, what were your immediate thoughts when you heard the news Gabriel Bortoleto off to Sauber for 2025?
Well, absolutely deserved. Brilliant in Formula 3, quick immediately as well. The champion of that series. So if he can win the Formula 2 championship, then he would be a champion of Formula 3 and Formula 2, which only a few names have been able to achieve, like Charles Leclerc, George Russell, Oscar Piastri as well. So a special group to be a part of. And yeah, brilliant for Brazil to be able to get a Brazilian driver on the grid, and Bortoleto has really deserved it with how he's been driving over the last few years. So I was incredibly happy with the news, and yeah, it's been quite a good year in terms of getting drivers promoted from Formula 2 to Formula 1 after we've had a few years with lots of drivers who deserve the opportunity not being able to find the seats.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because I feel like Liam Lawson was potentially the turning point last year. We went through a few years, probably since 2021, when Mick Schumacher and Nikita Mazepin joined the Formula 1 and went straight from Formula 2 to Formula 1, where they maybe made a few mistakes. I think that's fair to say. And we only really saw, was it Guan Yu Zhou was the only one really to step up in that time period. And we saw people like Oscar Piastri not being able to step up, even though he won the Formula 3 championship and the Formula 2 championship back to back, as you say. Yeah, we've had a few years without drivers graduating, but then obviously last year Liam Lawson stepped into the RB, did a very good job, and I think potentially got the ball rolling, or got the wheels rolling, shall we say, in terms of F1 teams trusting Formula 2 drivers again. I think I don't know, Amy, I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but then obviously since Liam Lawson stepped into F1 and done well like he did. We've then seen, obviously, as you say, Ollie Behrman getting the chance in Jeddah at the beginning of the year. We've then seen, Antonelli, Behrman, Doohan being potentially given a chance for next year. We'll come on to that in a minute. And then Bortoleto and potentially, and Colapinto, of course, potentially Colapinto for next year, potentially Hadjar for next year as well. Was Liam Lawson the one who got the wheels rolling in that sense, with Formula 2 drivers being trusted again?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Liam Lawson really, really did start it off and kick it off as well, after quite a few drivers who weren't able to fully show what they were capable of when they were given the F1 opportunity. And it didn't really go well. Like, for example, Nick De Vries, promoted at the start of 2023 as well. So, yeah, Liam Lawson getting the promotion halfway through that season. And then, yeah, we've seen F1 teams trust more drivers as well, more rookies, which is great to see. And it's really started this domino effect for more and more drivers getting the opportunities, which is absolutely amazing to see, because right now we've got some of the best drivers that are making their way through the junior ranks. And unfortunately, over the last few years, we have seen drivers miss who definitely had the talent for Formula One. So now it is great to see some of those drivers who are finally getting those chances that they deserve.
Who are you most looking forward to seeing, Aaron? Who's the one that you're most excited to see in a Formula One car next year?
I think the obvious answer is Antonelli, because he's just shot up through the ranks. He hasn't quite hit the heights we maybe hoped he would hit this year. I think a few of us were kind of hoping he turns up and he kind of blows everybody away, to be honest. But I think we were both hoping and worried about that, because then what would that say for the state of Formula 2 at the moment? Or is he just that good? Well. It's an interesting thing. And he was obviously going very well in the Mercedes at Monza until he crashed. But I don't think they'd have put him in if they didn't think he was ready or he wasn't the real deal. He's shown enough in his junior career. But Ollie Behrman, I think he's phenomenally fast. He's going to take a different path through F1. It'd be great to see what Jack Doohan can do, because he has shown during his time in Formula 2, and obviously this was in the old generation of car, that one lap speed, it's really there. And if you've got that, you can put yourself in a position to do really well in Formula 1. You can put everything else together, because the race pace can come together. You can learn how to manage the tyres and stuff like that. Even Oscar Piastri, who blitzed through F3 and Formula 2, he's still learning that side of Formula 1. So it's a really steep learning curve. They're all going to get to the bottom of the mountain at the same time. How many of them will be there making that journey is going to be a question, because we might have Hadjar, we're going to have Bortoleto, Behrman and Antonelli. Colapinto will be halfway up the mountain after his 9 races with Williams. But yeah, it's really exciting to see so many young drivers getting an opportunity. I think Antonelli in the Mercedes is probably the one we need to be keeping our eye out most for, because he's got probably the best opportunity, considering the team he's going into, to do something extraordinary. That's not to say that, Doohan couldn't get a podium in the Alpine and Behrman couldn't get great results for Haas, but Antonelli on his day with Mercedes, if they get it right, he could win. That's the position he's in.
Yeah, definitely an advantageous position that he's in compared to those other drivers that we've mentioned, obviously. I mean, who's exciting for you? And of course, it's funny to say, isn't it, that we're in November and there could still be some moving parts. It sounds like Franco Colapinto could potentially be... potentially become under the RB or the Red Bull umbrella, if you like, and join the RB team. Or he could be off to Alpine, if you listen to some of the rumours coming out of the F1 paddock, and could be replacing Jack Doohan. I think that would be incredibly harsh on Jack Doohan. But yeah, how do you think the dominoes are going to fall? Because I guess most of that depends on Sergio Perez, doesn't it, and his performance in the last 3 rounds of the Formula 1 season.
Yeah, that is definitely going to be a deciding factor on how Sergio Perez is able to get on in the final 3 races. And then, of course, that will definitely cause the effect with also how does Lawson get on in those final 3 races as well. So it's really going to be everyone just moving up. And it will be really interesting. It will be really interesting to see, in my opinion, where it's all going to play out. And yeah, a fascinating way to end the season. But yeah, to quickly touch on the point of who do I think I'm most excited for, I think I have to agree with Aaron. Antonelli, he's got a chance in the Mercedes. I've followed him for quite a little while as well. I remember those extraordinary performances in Freca, especially that Zandvoort one where he went from 8th to fast in 2 laps in the wet.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to Antonelli, but I've also followed drivers like Behrman for a few years, so really excited to see how they are all going to be able to get on. Of course, Behrman, he's already shown us what he can do, but it'll be interesting to see over a full season. And then also drivers like Bortoleto doing, just really excited. So many talents being promoted next year.
Can I throw or go a bit rogue and say I think I am of course I'm excited to see Antonelli in a Mercedes. I think it's going to be amazing. I think he's an incredible driver and he's going to have a very successful Formula One career. I'm excited to see Ollie Behrman. Same reason. He's going to be he's going to do incredibly well next season and he's going to be in Formula One for a very long time. I think he'll be in a Ferrari seat before the end of the decade, but for sure. But I think the person I'm most excited about is actually Gabriel Bortoleto. And I say that because I think his rise over the last couple of years, I mean, with all due respect to his Freca campaign, always a couple of years, even before he steps into Formula 3, I didn't necessarily have him down as a name that, he's going to be in Formula 1 one day. You think Antonelli was always destined for Formula 1, Ollie Behrman always destined for Formula 1. I don't think Gabriel Bortoleto, in my opinion, and let us know in the comments if you think anything different, but I don't think Gabriel Bortoleto was one of those names that everyone was like, this guy is the real deal. He's going to be in Formula 1 one day. But he turned up in Formula 3, won the first 2 feature races of the season, never really looked back. And I was so excited to see what he could do in Formula 2 this year, to see if it was a fluke season, not a fluke season, that's a bit harsh on him, but, to see if he, it was just, he started well and no one could catch him kind of thing. But absolutely not. He's proved that he is the real deal. He is growing and growing. And even as the Formula 2 season has gone on, I know he technically was on pole for the first race of the season. We know Invicta have always been, or that team have always been good with their 1 lap pace. But to the wins that he's picked up, in particular that Monza win, was unbelievable. Obviously, he had a bit of luck with a red flag, but it was unbelievable, right? And I genuinely think Gabriel Bortoleto he's the real deal. I genuinely think that. And, as we go into the final 2 rounds of the season, we have a mega title fight on our hands between Gabriel Bortoleto and Isaac Hadjar. I'm so excited for the end of the season, and I hope both of those 2 drivers can keep their heads in the game when it comes to, obviously, they got a potential Formula 1 seat and a definite Formula 1 season to look forward to next season. But I really hope they can keep their head in the game. But I'm super excited to see Gabriel Bortoleto in Formula 1 next season, Aaron. It's maybe a bit of a rogue shout, but I'm just super excited to see what he can do.
I think that's a really good shout, actually, because his rise, like you say, has been slightly under the radar. He's only just appeared in people's attention, so he is almost like that shiny new toy that everyone really wants to play with. It's Buzz Lightyear, Woody coming out at Christmas. Other toys are available, of course. And
other Disney films.
Yeah. His rise has kind of just almost happened now. We're kind of experiencing it now. It's not this, there's this kid who's just dominating all the categories, and he's got a name like a current Formula 1 driver. He's going to be a megastar one day. It's not someone who's necessarily been backed as well by a junior academy all the way through his career. It's slightly different. It's almost a little bit old school in that sense. And it's wonderful because he's shown that he can get the job done with or without the backing, and he's doing it in different categories, and he's ready. Put him in that Sauber. Hopefully they can give him a slightly better car next year. Yeah. This year, Bottas and Zhou have struggled. And I have sympathy for Zhou because he's been made to look a little bit second-rate at times because of the car, and he really isn't. That first season he was in Formula 1, he was very, very good. But I think Bortoleto is probably a step up on Zhou, and they will hopefully reap the benefits of that. So, all credit to Bortoleto for putting together the wave of momentum that he's got right now, and he's going to ride that all the way into Formula 1. It's just a question of how far it can take him.
No, I completely agree, and it would have frustrated me beyond belief not to see if Gabriel Bortoleto does go on to win the Formula 2 championship. It would have frustrated me beyond belief to see yet again another Formula 2, not only a Formula 2 champion not make it, but a Formula 2, Formula 3 back-to-back champion not make it. For me, I do have to mention Teo Pourchaire, that I feel like he's been incredibly harshly treated by the Sauber. I always wondered, and I mentioned it on the podcast many times for people who have listened to the podcast for a little while, I never understood why Teo Pourchaire was part of the Sauber Academy when you could see his talent, and I don't know whether he didn't have the offers from other teams, but to me, he was always such a talented individual. He came in, he broke into Formula 3, and straight away from the get-go, he was up there with the Premers in one of Premers' most dominant seasons of all time, and broke the top three. He jumps into Formula 2, wins a race in Monaco, becomes Formula 2's youngest ever winner, and surely at that point, teams would have been falling over themselves to have Teo Pourchaire as part of their academy. He's French. I'm sure Alpine Renault would have been looking at him and wanted him to join. Mercedes, Ferrari, I don't know if he had those offers. But yeah, it just always seemed a bit odd that he was part of the Sauber Academy. And I always just assumed that it was because he was guaranteed a seat in a Sauber Formula 1 team at some point in the future. And now the time's come around and it hasn't happened. I do feel sorry for Teo Pourchaire. But as we said, Gabriel Bortoleto, a great choice. Obviously preferred to Franco Colapinto as well in that seat. So super exciting to see what happens next season. Omi, if I've got to push you for who you think will be where in terms of those seats playing out, who do you think will be in the Red Bull seat? Who do you think will be in both RB seats? We'll leave it at that for the time being. Who do you think?
Well, thrown right in the deep end there as well. But yeah, it's quite an interesting question. Of course, first it was looking like Ricciardo could be getting in that Red Bull seat. Then, of course, he vanished after the Singapore race. But yeah, I think it's going to be Verstappen. Of course, staying in there. Let's get that out of the way, and then move over to the complicated ones. I think alongside, I'm going to say that Lawson will get it. I think Lawson will show enough in the final 3 rounds, and I think he'll just about get it. And then for the recarb seats, I think it's going to be Yuki Tsunoda, of course, staying in there. And I think Colapinto will get it, meaning Hadjar will miss out, unfortunately. But I think that's how it's going to play out.
Aaron, see it any differently from that before we move on?
It's such a jigsaw puzzle, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Obviously, Verstappen will be there. Is it too soon for Lawson?
So I think yes. I mean, surely Red Bull have learned from their mistakes with Pierre Gasly, with Alex Albon, and I think chucking Liam Lawson in there at this point in his career would be a bit of a mistake. But Sergio Perez isn't doing the job, is he? And it doesn't seem like they want to put Yuki Tsunoda in there. So maybe it will be Liam Lawson. I don't know, or maybe it will be Franco Colapinto. Who knows?
Who knows? It's such a weird situation because clearly. Red Bull aren't convinced by Hadjar.
Yeah.
That's the thing we have to take from this. If he is 3rd or 4th in the queue to get a V-carb seat when they're looking to try and move one of their drivers up from V-carb anyway, and they're looking outside their driver pool to fill that space, it tells you that...
I do have a theory on this. Sorry to interrupt, but I do have a theory on this, and I think for me, it's not necessarily about Hadjar's talent. I think they can see that he's talented, and potentially more so than Colapinto. For me, it's Colapinto's reach in terms of marketing in Argentina. Argentina have all of a sudden there's an influx of Argentinian fans. We saw it in Sao Paulo, and I think Red Bull are thinking about how many Red Bull cans they could sell in Argentina on this one, rather than is Hadjar a better driver than Colapinto. So that's my theory on that one. I don't think it's necessarily that they don't rate Hadjar or they don't think he's a better driver than Colapinto. I think for me it's about how many drinks cans they can sell in Argentina versus France. Colapinto brings a lot of fans. So I don't know, just a theory.
Well, yeah, get your tinfoil hat on there, Fraser, because they'll be coming for you in the comments, I think. But you might not be wrong on that. Obviously, Red Bull will be factoring that in. The whole that they exist as a racing team. Okay, they want to win, but they're also marketing for the brand of Red Bull to sell the energy drinks. So, yeah, back to the original question, though. I'm actually going to go, it's Verstappen and Perez.
Yeah,
I think they'll keep Perez.
Okay. And then Tsunoda and Lawson?
Yeah, I think they've turned a corner and they finally saw that Verstappen was having the same issues that Perez was flagging to them 7, 8, 9 months ago. And they went, oh, actually, hang on, you were right. Maybe they'll keep him on because his feedback is good. So if he's giving them the right information, it's up to them now to listen and act on it, which means they can give Lawson that extra season. If Perez still doesn't really sort of close up to Max, that's Lawson's opportunity.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll get Colapinto out because Williams will just go, look, you need to pay us all of this money. You need to build a castle of money for us to get Colapinto. Hadjar can then have another season of Formula 2. He'll be ready. He goes into the V-carb seat for 26. It's all new cars. Everyone's working off the same hymn sheet. And I've sorted the problem for Red Bull. There we go.
Yeah, amazing. Red Bull hire Aaron Harper as the new helmet marker. I think he'll do a better job.
Helmet marker's washed.
My point is not to say that Franco. I don't rate Franco Colapinto. I absolutely rate Franco Colapinto, and he has been superb in Formula One this year. It's more so that I wouldn't say he's a massively better driver than Isaac Hadjar, and that's a compliment to Isaac Hadjar. That's not to the demise of Franco Colapinto. So, but anyway, Aaron, your point brings us on nicely to Formula 2 for 2025. We've seen a few announcements, haven't we, over the last few weeks? By the way, I'm surprised you think Isaac Hadjar will be back in Formula 2 next year. I don't think he will, personally. Even if he finishes P2 in the championship, I don't think he'll come back for a third season, but we'll wait and see on that one. What is confirmed is Richard Verschoor is going to be returning to MP Motorsport. And not only for 2025, he's actually going to be stepping into that seat for the last couple of rounds of the Formula 2 season this season, Omi. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's a good signing for MP, and do you think that's a good move for Verschoor?
I definitely think that to make it this early, especially as well, there definitely is the connection between Verschoor and that team. Of course, a winner with that team as well back in Silverstone in Sprint Race 2 in 2021 as well. That was his first ever win in Formula 2. So he's been with the team before. I think he definitely will do well, hopefully, with MP Motorsport. But yeah, he's made the switch for the final 2 rounds and, of course, going into next year. Will be exciting to see how he's going to get on. A driver who has been incredibly unlucky this season as well, we have to say, disqualified from victory in Jeddah in the sprint race, engine failure in Monaco, having started on pole, then disqualified in Budapest as well. It's all been going on for Richard Verschoor. But let's hope he has some better luck with MP Motorsport.
Yeah, let's hope so. Aaron, good. For me, MP Motorsport are obviously a very good team. It's probably the best team that Richard Verschoor has or will drive for in his Formula 2 career. Is this his shot at the title? Can MP Motorsport produce a car like they did with Felipe Drugovich in 2022? And, as Verschoor in with a shot at the title, but also breaking his record of just scoring 1 win in every single Formula 2 season. Can he get more than 1 win next season in an MP Motorsport car?
You'd like to hope so. I mean, Richard Verschoor is a veteran of Formula 2 now with almost 3 digits of race starts. Look, he's clearly a very good driver. I mean, when we say very good, he is clearly a world-class level, but obviously we're looking for drivers who want to get to Formula 1, which is the ultimate elite level, the best of the best. And as much as I like Richard Verschoor, I'm not quite sure he's that level, but I still think he's a wonderfully talented driver, and the machinery he's had in Formula 2 and the luck as well, as Omi mentioned, it does not befit his ability behind the wheel of a racing car. He has lost so many victories and so many points, and that's potential sort of opportunities to go to other companies and racing series and go, hey, hire me, because look, this is my racing CV. You can't go, yeah, I've got all of these wins, but a third of them that were taken away from me because reasons. That's not how you pitch yourself as a racing driver to potential partners and teams. I think Richard Verschoor has deserved better. Hopefully at MP Motorsport they can do what they did in 2022 and provide a race-winning machine for the Dutch driver. So fingers crossed, touch wood, it all comes together for him because look, he's a great driver, he's a great bloke, and I want to see him do well.
Absolutely, I echo that. I think, he's a driver who deserves more than what he's had in Formula 2 next year. So, returning to MP Motorsport. He obviously returned to Trident this year. So maybe he'll be returning to VAR in 2026 and it'll be smashing the record for the amount of races completed in Formula 2, which, by the way, he will break that record given if he completes the season next season for MP Motorsport. He will break that record for the most number of race starts in Formula 2. He will overtake Ralph Boschung for that record. So that's Richard Verschoor. A couple of other driver announcements for 2025. Sorry, no, let's start with 2024 actually. Let's go to Dino Beganovic jumping in the Dams car for the rest of this season, for the last 2 rounds of this season. Yeah, Omi, what are your thoughts on that? Were you surprised to see him stepping in at Dams to replace the outgoing JM Correa?
Well, there were lots of rumours about Beganovic and Dams as well. So I think he was definitely going to get a seat for next year. But of course, the seat did open this year as well in place of Juan Manuel Correa, who won't finish out the season. So Dino Beganovic definitely is a good fit, seeing as he is not going to continue with Prima going into next year as well. He has been incredibly unlucky throughout Formula 3 and also just this weekend that's gone past in Macau as well. So Dino Beganovic, cannot wait to see how he's going to be able to get on in Formula 2 machinery starting from Qatar. And it's good to get 2 rounds as well under his belt before he heads into the 2025 season.
He's doing that classic thing that a few drivers have done over the years, isn't he, where he jumps in for the final round or 2 rounds of the season. I remember Lando Norris did it in 2017. There's been plenty of drivers since who have done that. So, looking forward to seeing what Dino Beganovic can do in a Formula 2 car this season and next season, wherever he ends up as well. Because you're right, I think he's been incredibly unlucky as well in Formula 3. Things just haven't gone his way. You can see the talent, but things just haven't gone his way, have they? So, I think he will be more competitive in Formula 2 than he will be than he has been in Formula 3. Aaron, just a quick word on JM Correa. Obviously, a bit of a legend in the sport, really, in the category. JM Correa, such a nice guy. I've had him on the podcast more than one occasion, a couple of times, and he has time for everyone. And just to be back in a Formula 2 car from where he was in 2019, unbelievable story. And I think that legacy will live on forever, won't it?
Yeah, I mean, when you say legend of Formula 2, obviously it's in the sort of most tragic sense because he will be forever inextricably linked to the death of Antoine Hubert. But out of that came a fantastic recovery story for JM Correa to get himself, first of all, back behind the wheel of a racing car. We've mentioned this before. Everyone knows the story. He's returned to the grid. And he returned to the podium this year, and I got to speak to him after those races in Spain before he lost the one in the sprint race. And like you say, he is a lovely guy, and I wish him all the success and happiness because, like you say, coming from where he came from at that point of his life, it would have been very easy for him to sort of give up on the dream of being a racing driver. But he's shown that if you want something bad enough, and you work hard enough for it, you can achieve anything. And it's a real life lesson for everyone, really, because it just shows the power of the will. If the willpower is there, you can achieve what you want to achieve. And it's sad to see him leaving the grid before the end of the season. I think he'd done enough to warrant seeing out the season, but I don't actually know the full circumstances, whether he chose to leave and a space opened up, or they said, oh yeah, we're putting Dino in, and Ferrari have had a little word in the ear of the guys at Dams to get their driver in. But he is a wonderful guy, like you said, and you had him on the podcast a number of times. And I wish him all the best in his future endeavours because he's a top guy and a top racer. So all credit to him.
Yeah, completely agree. Echo that. And nothing announced yet for JM Correa, but definitely expecting something to be announced in the next little while. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And finally, just wanted to touch on Max Esterson, who's going to be jumping in the Trident to obviously replace the outgoing Richard Verschoor. Your thoughts on that, Omi? I get that it was probably not one that anyone was expecting. Max Esterson, it kind of came out of nowhere, that one, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely did as well. 21st this season in F3. And nothing really, I guess, catched my eye really across the season in Formula 3 earlier this year. A few moments where there was some things to mention about him, but nothing really extraordinary. But we have seen drivers just come into Formula 2 and perform well and just click immediately. So I think that's exactly what he's going to be hoping for as well as he makes the step up. And once again, most likely probably could be on the grid next year if things go to plan. So good to get that experience this season, get 2 rounds under his belt. But yeah, it will be intriguing to see how he gets on and whether he's able to perform a little bit more better than what he managed in Formula 3.
Aaron, same as?
Yeah, I mean, it's an opportunity, isn't it? It's he's making that step up. Whether he really deserves it based on his championship position in Formula 3 or not, it's an opportunity. And if he does what Kushmini did a couple of seasons ago and really sort of excels in the Formula 2 car, you go, hey, where was this sort of in Formula 3? It's weird, the quirks of the racing car, isn't it? Our friend of the show, Alex Brunder, will be able to explain this a lot better than I can. You know, the nuances of jumping from one category to another and the different driving styles that allow a driver to be more or less successful in one versus the other. But like Omi said, if Max jumps into the car this kind of weekend in Qatar and then does well there and does well in Abu Dhabi, he might get a seat for Formula 2. But he could also, maybe if he doesn't get one in the F2 grid, say to the F3 guys, hey, look, I can do it in a Formula 2 car. Give me a shot in one of the better machines in F3. Maybe it's the making of him. You never quite know, but it's all about taking the opportunities that come your way. And if he does that, he could make a real step forward in his career, but it's up to him to take it. And it's a difficult situation to come into. Qatar, the Losail circuit, is probably the most demanding circuit on the grid in terms of the cornering layout and the speeds they're going to be carrying. I hope he's doing his neck workouts because he is going to need them.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say as well. For those drivers stepping in a Formula 2 car for the first time around Qatar, which we know how physical that track is. We spoke to a few drivers at the beginning of the season and they were talking about how they're training for Qatar already. So I hope Dino Beganovic, Max Esterson have been training, keeping that neck nice and, getting it ready to go for Qatar, because that could be absolutely, very, very difficult, couldn't it? So best of luck to Max Esterson and to Dino Beganovic on their first weekend in Formula 2, which you can catch next weekend, the 30th of November, the 1st of December, in Qatar. Final 2 rounds of the season. Isaac Hadjar, Gabriel Bortoleto going for the title. Still lots to play for as well. For me, Kimi Antonelli could, I think his legacy in junior series, I think it's really important for him to break into the top 5 and to graduate from Formula 2 in the top 5. So lots to keep your eyes on. Jack Crawford will be hoping to end the season strong and push a mounted title challenge for next season as well. So much to keep your eye on. So we will be back after Qatar to review round number 13 of the Formula 2 Championship. Next weekend after the race itself. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Keep your eyes peeled on Inside F2 social media as well for coverage all weekend. But that's all from us here at Inside F2. We'll see you next time.